Hello and welcome to Standing By, the show where we chat with the hardworking understudies, standbys, and swings helping keep Broadway's curtains up every night. I'm your host, Kasky Hunsader. We're here at Bartini Ultra Lounge in the heart of the Broadway district in New York City. And with me today are Nathan Patrick Morgan and Lynne Abeles from Broadway's Phantom of the Opera, playing at the Majestic Theater. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Let's talk a little bit about your backgrounds, everybody. So Nathan, where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio. Well, Pataskala, Ohio, but no one knows where that is. So 15 minutes east of Columbus, and I've lived in New York since 1998, where I went to college at the Manhattan School of Music. Wonderful. Got a bachelor's and then left.
I moved around a bit. I was born here. My parents met in New York City, and when I was a baby, they moved to Northern California, and then 6th grade to South Florida, and now we're back all in New York. So.
And where did you go to school?
I started out at the University of Southern California as a theater major, and then took some time off, started singing seriously, and transferred to the University of Miami and did a voice major there.
And so, Lynne, you have a background, your performance background before coming to Broadway, and this is for both of you, your Broadway debuts, being in Phantom of the Opera. You primarily did opera.
Yes.
Not musical theater.
Not musical theater.
So what operas have you done? Did you tour, or were you doing regional productions?
I was doing regional productions, small things here and there. I would say my biggest job was doing an operetta, The Chocolate Soldier, at Bard Summerscape, and I did the lead there, and it was super fun and amazing. And I've always kind of straddled the line between opera and musical theater, but I never really found my niche, and I kind of always knew that Phantom would be the show that would bring me to Broadway, because it was the perfect combination of both. But a small regional opera all over, and small things here in the city. I did stuff at Chelsea Opera, Di Capo Opera, little companies. There's lots of venues here.
Well, I did a lot of dinner theater, which was lovely, and I also did the national tour of Cats for 4 years of my life as the vocal swing, which understudy position, and also as Gus Growl, Tiger Buster for Jones, and Old Deuteronomy. That's what I was doing, and I literally closed the 30th year of the Bus and Truck Inflatable Cats. Thank you, Troika. And then 3 months later, Broadway called. I changed my life.
And what was the audition process for you? How did you get involved and ultimately get cast in the show?
Well, I was called in because of Cats. The music people cross over between Cats and Phantom because it's Andrew Lloyd Webber. And I was brought in to audition for Phantom 2 years ago now. And I auditioned and didn't get it. And was called back and didn't get it, and got to go to the Majestic and sing in the lower lobby for like 2 big wigs, and I was very, very excited, and then didn't hear anything, so went back on Cats as Old Deuteronomy for the final year. And then they called me in again, and I sang 3 more times. And then I got the phone call in the middle of my dinner theater gig at the Hunterdon Hills Playhouse and left the show mid-run. It was amazing.
So once they did call you, you were put in right away.
They called me on the 17th of July and said,
Sunday,
we
right?
want you to start, I guess it was the
Sunday?
16th of July. And they said, we want you to start on Tuesday, 15th. Anyway, I started on Thursday, which was the 19th. You do the math, because I can't. And literally Thursday then was my first rehearsal. And my first paycheck, which I was completely shocked, they were going to pay me for 3 rehearsals that I hadn't even done yet, but okay. And we had our put-in the following Thursday, and then performed that evening.
I started rehearsals 2 days before he did, but
So you were an old pro by that point.
Right.
She has a much harder part than I do.
But my process was kind of the same, except I wasn't working in a theater. I was nannying. So I quit my nannying job immediately. Thankfully, the people I was working for are also in the business, and they knew I was auditioning and were totally supportive. But I got the same thing. Got the call on Sunday, signing contracts on Monday, joined Equity on Monday. I had no equity points or anything. And then my first rehearsal was Tuesday.
And was the audition process as extended as it was for Nathan, or was yours
It was
shorter?
similar, but not quite so much. What happened to me is that years ago, when I had a manager, an opera manager, he sent me in to audition for Christine for Vegas when they were casting Vegas. So I went in there and I sang for Dale at Tara Rubin, and he was like, "You don't sound like a Christine at all. Do you have something more Carlotta?" And I was surprised because I was under the impression that I would never be considered for Carlotta. But I happened to have Glitter and Be Gay in my book. So I sang Glitter and Be Gay, and he was like, "Oh, that was fabulous." And then I never heard from him again. And I was like, great. And then, they say that they always remember you, and they really did, because I must have been on a list, and I got a call out of the blue 2 or 3 years later. Come on in and sing. And then I did basically 3 rounds of auditions after that. An initial sing for casting, then for creatives, and then the lower lobby work through. And then I got the call on a Sunday.
So you're both in the ensemble, and then you cover. It's a very exciting treat because we have Piangi and Carlotta covers.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Did you count?
I've been counting. I should have
count.
checked before I
I
came
should
here,
have
but
counted.
I think it's something like 38 times.
Okay.
I've
like
probably
that in a
been on
year.
about 50, right?
Yeah, you've been on more.
I've been on more.
Yeah.
A lot. It's kind of amazing.
That's great. Have you ever gone on together?
Once.
Once, just once.
It was
was
so
that?
much fun. Lynne was like, "Shut up, I've got a cadenza to sing," looking at my dead head. And I was like crying in the wings, "My Carlotta." Shit was amazing.
It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I loved it. And everybody in the cast was really excited too, because when you've done as many performances as a lot of these people have done of the show, anything that you can latch onto that's new is really helpful. And so they kind of all were using our excited energy to get through the show that day. It was a lot of fun.
How soon into the process did you first go on, Nathan, as Piangi?
My first Piangi was September 27th, and I was sick. And the next day, I had to go on again. I was so sick, but I didn't want to tell anybody because it just so happened that my parents had bought tickets to come and see that Saturday.
You in the ensemble.
As
not-
me in the ensemble. And then suddenly I'm going on as Piangi, and I was like, well, I can't call out. They're coming from Ohio, and they're not terribly ambulatory. So, yeah, we're doing this, sick or not.
So that was about 2.5 months into it. Had you had your put-ins and stuff by that point?
When did we put in?
Oh gosh, I don't know. 6 weeks maybe after?
Yeah,
after,
maybe.
I think about 6 weeks after.
We also got to put in as Carlotta and Piangi together, which was fun.
Yeah.
And when was the first
costumes.
time that you went on?
I think it was also about about 2 months after July, maybe in mid-September or something like that. We started mid-July.
We were very close.
We were pretty close.
To
They
the same time.
scheduled mine.
Mine was
first
scheduled
show.
as well, but then,
Yeah.
oops.
They
Something
asked.
happened.
They said, we want you to have your first show. So Michelle gracefully took a show off, and I got to go on. It was on I remember though, it was on a 2-show day. I did a Wednesday night. So I had done ensemble during the day and then made my Carlotta debut that night.
That's stressful.
And then, but what I do remember that was crazy for us was that we made our Broadway debuts in ensemble, and then the next day we were back in rehearsal immediately for Carlotta and Piangi. We were learning it right away. There was no break.
I still don't know my starting pitch for Hide Your Sword Now, Wounded Knight, and you want me to what? No, I'm kidding. I knew what I was doing.
Everybody, people who don't know musical theater, who don't know Broadway, no fan of the opera. So what is it like stepping into a show that has a history like that?
It's pretty amazing. There's a bit of pressure, I think. You don't want to screw up.
Well, you also don't want to deal with people that came and saw it in its first year on Broadway. You don't want them to be able to leave the theater and say, "Well, it was better the first time I saw it. I don't know what they've done with this ensemble." I will make this better than you saw it before, if at all be possible.
Yeah, and
So that's a little scary.
allow us to. It's been running for so long, so there are set characters, there's set blocking, and all that kind of stuff. But they do allow you to make it your own within that, and that is, I think, refreshing.
We're going to take a quick break. Stick around. Standing by, we'll be back with Nathan and Lynne from Broadway's The Phantom of the Opera. Welcome back to Standing By. I'm your host, Caskey Hunsader. Today my guests are Nathan Patrick Morgan and Lynne Abeles from the Phantom of the Opera, playing at the Majestic Theater on Broadway. Last January, you guys were around for the 25th anniversary of the show. What was that like?
Amazing.
Well, brilliant, because that fancy program that always comes out. Having done Cats for so long, I was always very upset that I was never in that. And to be able to open it up and see Nathan Patrick Morgan in one of the pictures, that was so exciting.
You're talking about the actual souvenir?
The actual souvenir
yeah.
25th anniversary program, the big one in color. I was like, I'm famous, and I'm going to hang this up or put it on my coffee table and make everyone sick of looking at it, and I'm doing that.
But that performance was amazing too. I mean, we had been rehearsing a lot.
Oh my
We'd had
gosh.
a rehearsal that day and a
Yeah.
performance that night. And we had weeks
And then the
weeks
gala.
of rehearsals and the gala after and everything. So we were, all exhausted. But that all dissipated as soon as the
Yeah.
performance started. And the audience was amazing because it was filled with former cast members and
course.
fans. And so every little thing
was
they were
amazing.
laughing at, there was so much energy. It was great.
25. Really? That's funny? Okay.
Now, what do you think it is? I did the math last night, and the next closest show that is still running, that's like creeping up behind you, is the revival of Chicago. But I did the math, and they would have to run as long as you guys, plus another 8.8 years to surpass you as longest running musical. So chances are this will, if it should ever close, will be the longest running musical probably forever.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think it is that gives Phantom the staying power, and why do you think it has run so long and continues to do so well?
Well, the story, I think, it's a love story that people, in a way, can always relate to. Even though the Phantom is this kind of gruesome, enigmatic character, there's something that people, I think everyone can sort of empathize with him, and he's a wounded soul, And the music, I don't know, people seem to just love the music. And
It gets stuck in your
it
head.
gets
The man
stuck in
can
your
write a
head.
melody.
Yeah, and now it's gotten to the point where someone has gone to see it as a child, and now they're bringing their children, and so it's become that kind of tradition that it's being passed down through generations
Yeah.
to come see it,
Also, it's a spectacle. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what decade you're coming to see the show in, because it doesn't get so dated in and of itself, because it's from the 1870s. So
Right.
yes, it's 1870s with an 80s flair, but you don't notice that so much. You just see, wow, that guy, my jeweler, is clearly wearing it's me, a $28,000 costume.
That's
And
true,
I
the
am.
costumes are amazing.
And that's one of the cheaper costumes in the show.
Nathan, what was your first experience with Phantom of the Opera? Did you see it as a child?
I did, well, as a child, as a 15-year-old, I suppose. I saw the national tour,
Counts as a child.
I saw the national tour, which this is exciting for me because I have no idea, because I don't still have the program. But I'm working now on Broadway with people who may or may not have actually been on tour at the time. Well, I was completely blown away, and it was one of those moments where I sat there and I was like, I can't imagine what it must feel like to be up there, to have these parts memorized and to perform for this many people in this setting, because the show is so magical, because it allows for the entire building to be a part of the set, because it's play within a play, because it happens in an opera house. The entire theater, and you become a part of the ensemble as well as an audience member, because they break the fourth wall and speak to the audience in the show, and it makes you feel really a part of this grand beauty that exists on the stage. I was blown away when I saw the show. I'm still blown away when I see the show. We got to swing out in
And
February,
watch. Yeah, about that.
and having learned the show and then getting to watch it again, I went, oh, wow, I've done at that point, 200 performances or so, and
You forget, because you're backstage and you're doing your show, and you kind of forget what it's like out in the house. And so when we had the opportunity to go watch the show, I got chills. When the chandelier went up, goosebumps.
Lynne, what was your first experience with Phantom?
The first time I saw it was when I was auditioning for the tour, when I knew I was going in for Christine in Vegas. I, of course, listened to it a lot as a kid, but I had never seen it, so that was the first time. I'm sort of late to the party a little bit, but I loved it when I saw it.
she was busy in opera.
No.
Since you're on stage every night doing the show, how do you prepare and how do you track the covers that you do?
I literally sing through the show in my head as Piangi every night because it's never at the same time. So I may be on stage doing something completely different, but if I'm not singing something in my ensemble track, I will be going through whatever he's doing. I mean, running down stage, putting on my makeup, I'm still listening to Managers 1 and going through it, making sure I know it, and there's actually a time backstage where we can hang out behind Managers 1 and sing with them, and the audience can't hear us. So all of the understudies will be back there backstage during the show in full fop or stagehand or whatever they're wearing at the time, like full on singing the show, which is, I mean, a little bit quieter.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
we do, and it's fun.
I've never
so much
full on
fun.
sung. I've kind of just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but mimed through things, to practice the staging and.
Yeah, and we also do rehearse like about 2 to 3 times a month. We will have a full 4.5 hour, 5 hour rehearsal.
5 hours?
Is it 4 hours?
4 hours, yeah.
Whatever, 1 to 5. Oh, that's 4 hours.
That's 4 hours.
I did math.
Count to 4, he's a musician, ladies.
There we go. Yeah, so we rehearse then, and that's always either with the dance captain or with Denny, who's the dance supervisor, or with Seth, who's the production supervisor, or the stage managers and production PSMs. So there's always somebody who's above us telling us what we're doing wrong or what we're doing right. Right. Mm-hmm. They're very good about keeping morale up.
So, but did you talk to the folks that you're covering and do you ever discuss the roles with them to kind of get their insight or tips and tricks, or is it something that you really create yourself with the creatives?
Well, I think Michelle, who I cover, Michelle McConnell, she's wonderful and she's really generous, and she is always available to answer any questions. And when I was trailing her, she was really good about telling me, oh, you have this much time to change your makeup, and if you want to do this here, you can do that. But everything is really up to you and to make it your own. In terms of character, I would say it's more a journey on your own and with the creatives. Not so much with the principals, do you think?
I did trail Christian Shebeck, who plays Piangi. And basically, because it's such a choreographed ballet backstage, there's not really time to say, okay, now, what is your arc of your character at this point? Because he's putting on a 60-pound costume to go run upstairs and climb an 11-foot elephant.
What is your favorite moment in the show? Either the show itself or a favorite moment that you have as far as performing within your track?
I have 2.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
And I probably say, oh, that's my favorite part in the show.
And then there's something
like
else.
8 times a night. And it's a different 8 times every night. Okay, no, I have 3. Okay, so my favorite one in my ensemble track as the jeweler is getting to run out on stage and laugh hysterically every single day. No matter how bad my day is, no matter how badly I do not want to go out on that stage and laugh, I do. And I make it happen. And it's magical. As soon as the lights come up and I'm coming around the corner and laughing, it's like all my cares go away and I become this happy-go-lucky, fun guy. And it's just brilliant. It's what you strive to be in life, My favorite Piangi moment is the end of Managers 1 and having to stand there, being able to stand there with the entire principal cast and sing these high notes and this gorgeous chord that's so rich and the audience goes crazy over it. It's really beautiful. I love that whole Managers section is incredible. And then my favorite spot in the show that I'm not involved in is when Madame Giry says, "Let her sing for you, messieurs. She has been well taught." Now I laugh about this because there's a story that somebody told me, and every time it happens, it's all I can hear in my head is that one of the Madame Giry's went up on her line and said, "Let her sing for you, messieurs." I can't even do it. "Let her sing for you, messieurs. She has been well fed." So yeah, that's my hysterical. Christine is fat. Get her out of my ballet corps. That's all I could think of there. Anyway.
I'm crying. That's funny. Well, I think I'm going to go a little different from you here, Nathan. Well, so my favorite moment in the whole show actually is when Phantom, Hugh, is crawling on the ground, and he starts Stranger Than You Think, and there's a spotlight on him, and he's like doing this weird animalistic crawling. That's my favorite part.
Which they tell him not to use their legs.
Yes, he
in
has
that
to do it with
section.
that. He has
They
to
like
pull
have to
his whole
army
body
crawl.
with his arms, you know.
And
I-
sing.
Yeah, and
That's
I
easy.
just think it's awesome. I don't know why.
It's
the
really-
shift in the music, and
It's like an acting moment there where he's like, I'm angry. And
First layer.
it's very creepy.
yeah, that's my favorite part. And then I would say I like all the kind of backstage antics. I mean, there's a high five alley that happens after Don Juan when some of us make our exit and we have to cross back on stage. And we all high five everyone going by, and
I don't get to
you don't
do
get
that.
I get to high five
No.
everyone and crew
am I
guys
doing
and they're at
after
the end of
Don
the
Juan?
show, and that's actually one of my favorite moments.
That would be
I look
mine
forward to
too,
High
but
Five
nobody
Alley.
high fives me. That's fine.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'll
I like
high five
stuff
you,
like
don't
that.
worry.
Okay, let's high five. We can high five after that because I see you later.
Okay.
So we can have our own high five moment.
Well, that's my new
Maybe
favorite
two.
spot in the show.
Yeah, it's fun. But I agree with you about managers. At the end of managers, when everyone's in their final pose,
It's incredible.
it's pretty incredible. And the curtains come swooping in, and
Yeah.
it's very dramatic.
And you just sing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's where you're planted, your shoulder width apart, your knees are slightly bent,
Yeah,
and you are
and you
singing
just-
for Jesus.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful.
Well, that's all the time we have today. I'd like to thank my guests Nathan Patrick Morgan and Lynne Abeles from the Phantom of the Opera, now playing at the Majestic Theater on Broadway. For more information and to buy tickets to the show, check out thephantomoftheopera.com. And to learn more about our guests and to look at other episodes, check our website out at standingbytv.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter. I'm your host, Caskey Hunsader. Thanks for joining us on an episode of Standing By.